Welcome to another instructional video from Everlast Refiners. In this video I'm going to show you how to install a number 10 Everlast Refiner bypass oil filtration system on a 2006 Dodge 2500 pickup with a 5.9 liter Cummins engine. First we're going to install the mounting bracket and then the oil refiner canister. First, remove the two clips holding the wire harness to the firewall as shown and let the harness droop down. Then cut away a section of the firewall insulation as required to mount the refiner base bracket. Next, reposition the transmission dipstick tube towards the engine to make room for the refiner canister. It bends relatively easily. Then install the provided clear plastic tube piece onto the air conditioning line to prevent any chafing. You can see these shown in the photo. Next, position the bracket in such a way as the canister fits in the space and is low enough to allow for removal of the canister lid. Using the self-tapping screws provided, install the bracket base plate and try to keep it relatively level. Next, install the adjustable bracket straps onto the bracket base just installed using the 1/4 by 1 inch bolts, lock washers and nuts provided. Tighten these bolts so that the bracket straps won't pivot, and set them to level. Once they're level, drill a secondary hole using the pilot holes provided in the bracket base and install a secondary set of 1/4 by 1 inch bolts, lock washers and nuts to lock these arms into the level position. A tab on the firewall just above the bracket will have to be removed. Using a cutting wheel, cut the tab off and smooth the sharp edges. Next, prepare the oil refiner canister for installation. First, using the thread sealant compound provided, install the 90-degree street elbow and brass regulating valve provided in the installation kit onto the inlet port located on the bottom of the oil refiner canister, and orient it so that it faces toward the 1/2 inch outlet port located on the side of the oil refiner canister. Next, using the thread sealant provided, install the 90-degree street elbow into the 1/2 inch oil return port located on the side of the canister and orient it so that it faces downward. Next, install the oil refiner canister onto the bracket assembly just installed and level it and secure it with the 1/4 by 2.5 inch bolt, lock washer and nut as shown in the photo. Now I'm going to show you how to install the engine oil return line. First, drain the engine oil. Next, I'm going to show you how to install a bulkhead fitting into the side of the oil pan. The reason we're installing this new bulkhead fitting is because the drain plug on this oil pan is located on the bottom of the pan. Attaching an adapter fitting to the bottom of this pan could be potentially hazardous. If the vehicle were to run over something substantial, it would be exposed and could be potentially damaged. And so we're going to install a new bulkhead fitting on the side of the pan where it'll be much better protected. So on the passenger side of the oil pan, locate a point approximately 2.5 inches from the bottom of the oil pan and 4 inches from the rear of the oil pan as shown. Using a pointed punch, mark the hole. Place a strong magnet in proximity to where you're going to be cutting this hole to catch any filings that might be created inside the pan once the hole saw breaks through. Now, using a 1 1/4 inch hole saw and angle drill, cut a hole in the oil pan. Be careful not to damage the area around the hole. It must be smooth so that the oil pan fitting will seal properly. Test fit the bulkhead adapter fitting nipple, and if required, file the edge of the hole, but be careful not to make the hole excessively large. Just large enough to where the bulkhead fitting nipple can fit through the hole. Reach into the hole, be careful, it's quite sharp, and remove any metal shavings that are held by the magnet. Next, remove the magnet. Now we're going to install the bulkhead fitting. So attach the fitting nipple to the insertion tool. These are left-handed threads, and slide the backing plate onto the insertion tool with the tabs facing away from the fitting nipple. Insert this assembly into the hole. Once inside the oil pan, shake and pull the assembly to seat the backing plate on the fitting nipple. Pull on the insertion tool to keep the backing plate against the inside of the pan, and keep holding pressure on the insertion tool and install the rubber O-ring and cover it with high temperature silicone. This is provided in the kit. Next, install the retaining washer and retaining nut. Tighten the retaining nut enough to squeeze the rubber O-ring seal and seat the retaining washer. Once the retaining washer is touching the oil pan, you can stop tightening. Over tightening could potentially damage the O-ring. Hold the fitting nipple with pliers and to keep it from turning, and remove the insertion tool. Remember, these are left-handed threads. Now wipe away any excess silicone that may have squeezed out when you seated this new bulkhead fitting. And that's it. The new bulkhead fitting is installed. Next, using the thread sealant provided, install the non-swivel end of the 1/2 inch return hose assembly onto the 90-degree street elbow on the side of the oil refiner canister and route it down to the oil pan fitting just installed. Next, attach the swivel end of the return hose assembly onto the bulkhead fitting just installed in the oil pan. Use pliers or vice grips to hold the bulkhead fitting and keep it from turning while tightening this connection. This is a JIC fitting and does not require thread sealant. Take care when routing this hose to stay as far away from the turbocharger as possible. This unit gets quite hot and could damage the return hose if they are touching each other. Next, I'm going to show you how to install the engine oil supply line. Remove the plug from the top of the oil filter housing and install a 1/8 inch 90-degree street elbow provided in the kit. Install it using the provided thread sealant and orient it so that it points aft towards the oil refiner canister as shown. Next, using the thread sealant provided, install the non-swivel end of the 1/4 inch pressure hose assembly to the elbow just installed and route it back to the bottom fitting of the oil refiner canister and attach it using the thread sealant provided to the regulating valve assembly previously installed. Next, I'm going to show you how to establish the electrical connections to the heated lid assembly of the thermal dehydrator located on the top of the oil refiner canister. First, attach the black round wire assembly. Attach one end to one of the bolts on the mounting bracket and the other end to one of the posts on the heating element on the heated lid assembly. It does not matter which post, it's not polarity sensitive, it just requires a power and a ground. Then attach the red power wire assembly to the remaining post on the lid heater and route the wire along the firewall conduit and then forward to the power distribution box in the engine compartment. To the end of this wire, attach the inline fuse, and on the remaining end of the inline fuse assembly, attach the wire to fuse slot number 30 as shown. Next, using the tie wraps provided, secure the wire routing as required, and also secure the routing of the engine oil return line and engine oil supply lines as required. Okay, now it's time to operationally check the system and check the leaks. So replace the engine oil, check for leakage at the oil pan fitting. Next, start the engine and check for leakage at the oil pressure line connection and the oil refiner canister connection. Remove the heated lid assembly using a rag or a glove. It has a heating element in it and gets quite hot. Not hot enough to burn you, but you wouldn't want to hold on to it for very long. Now watch for oil flow across the dispersion plate as shown. This will take several minutes, so be patient. Opening the flow regulator valve and running the engine at high idle could speed this process up. Now once flowing, adjust the regulator valve so that a slow, even flow of oil covers the step dispersion plate at idle. Once established, run the engine at high speed to ensure that the can will not overflow. If you notice the can filling up, readjust the regulator valve to slow the flow rate. Reinstall the heated lid using a rag or glove and install the washer and wing nut. Hand tight is fine. And that's it. You've successfully installed the refiner canister and the connections to it, and established the correct flow rate. Next we'll talk about maintenance. Maintenance. Now we're going to discuss how to maintain the Everlast Refiner bypass oil filtration system. First, you have to check your oil level and dispersion plate flow rate regularly. Take oil samples every 20,000 miles. Replace the filter element as required whenever you notice a significant reduction in the oil flow rate across the dispersion plate, or you get an oil sample report that indicates that it's time for a replacement, or finally, foregoing all of that, replace your filter every year. Oil analysis. To address any questions you may have about your oil sample results, please go to the link shown here, or for direct assistance, please contact our technical support at the link provided. Now, how does it work? Well, if you have any questions about how the Everlast Refiner bypass oil filtration system actually works to preserve the condition and quality of your motor oil, please go to the link provided. There's a thorough description here and a short video which explains in detail how the oil refining process works. Finally, for any technical support questions, please contact the link shown here. I hope you enjoyed this video, and please keep coming back to view additional videos from Everlast Refiner. Thank you.